Good morning, Wyatt. It was great getting a picture of you and Dad this morning. You looked awful happy. Okay, I got another book to read to you. It's called Winnie Finn Worm Farmer. Winnie Finn was earthworm crazy. She turned over stones all over Quincy County in hope of meeting squirmy worms. And here's a picture of her and her cat looking for worms. Weird looking cat, huh? After a rain, Winnie found worms on sidewalks. On cloudy days, she took them for rides in her rickety wagon. And there is a picture at the bottom of her rickety wagon. She's kind of got a little problem. One wheel's missing right there. Look, she's using a shoe for a wheel. And sometimes she even raced them. She knew that the biggest earthworm was over 10 feet long. She knew that an earthworm had 5 hearts, and she knew which end was its head and which end was its tail. When spring came to Quincy County, Winnie started thinking about the Quincy County Fair. The fair had prizes for things like the best looking puppies, the best laying eggs, and the best growing corn stalks. She wanted to win a prize too. With the prize money, she could get herself a new wagon. So she wondered, did they have a prize at the Quincy County Fair for the best worms? So there she is. She's wondering if she could win a prize for worms. Worms, said Mr. Abernathy. Nonsense. There's no prize for worms. This year, I'm raising corn. With the right fertilizer, my stalks will shoot up high enough to pluck their own raindrops from the clouds. If only I knew what the right fertilizer was, I'd share my prize with anyone who could bring me some. Worms, said Mrs. Yamasaki O'Sheridan. Don't be silly. There's no prize for worms. I'm raising Plymouth Rock hens this time. With the right feed, they'll lay so many eggs, I'll get the prize for the best egg layers. And there is Mrs. Yamaguchi O'Sheridan. Worms, said Mr. Peasley. I don't think there's a prize for worms. This summer I'm raising Afghan pups. If I can make their coats smooth and sleek, they're sure to win a prize. And if I won a prize, I'd share my prize with anyone who could do that. So there is Mr. Beasley, and there's his pups down there. Winnie Finn knew how to find the right corn fertilizer and the right chicken feed, and she knew how to give puppy shiny coats, and it all started with worms. So she borrowed a seed crate from Mr. Abernathy. She also went to Mrs. Yamasaki O'Sheridan for some chicken manure. So there's the seed box she's getting from Mr. Beasley. And she's gone back to see Mrs. Yamaguchi with the chicken manure, which stinks really bad. And when she asked to borrow Mr. Peasley's wash tub, he said there's still no best in show for worms. But anyway, she didn't pay any mind to any of them. Soon she'd have her own brand new wagon. So what she did was she went home and she filled Mr. Abernathy's crate with soil, strips of newspaper and leaves. That would be where the worms live. Then she mixed in chicken manure with all that soil and stuff. And then she filled Mr. Peasley's tub with water, and she put that mixture of soil and manure in the tub. Winnie found all the red wigglers she could, and she put them over their new home and watched them slither into the soil. For weeks she watered the worm farm, fed them eggshells and coffee grounds and carrot peelings. She even took them for walks, and she sang to them. Finally, the worm farm was ready. She went and found Mr. Abernathy, who was watering his corn crop, and said, I have a present for you, Mr. Abernathy. Spread this around your corn, and you will have a great corn crop. Sure enough, a few weeks later, the corn was taller than Winnie. Winnie, you were right. The worm fertilizer was just what I need. How can I thank you? Some corn would be nice, Mr. Abernathy, and so he gave her some corn. And then she took the corn to Miss Yamaguchi, whatever her name is, Sheridan, and feed this fresh corn to your hands and you'll have plenty of eggs. For the eggs will produce enough for omelets the size of rubber rafts for breakfast. Sure enough, a couple of weeks later, Miss Yamasaki O'Sheridan's hens were laying so many eggs, she had to scramble to keep up. How can I ever thank you? With eggs, please, Mrs. Y.O. So Winnie gave the eggs to Mr. Peasley and said, mix these in with your puppy food. They'll have coats as smooth and sleek as slipper sack. So there he goes, off with some eggs to mix up the eggs with the food for his puppies. Look at those puppies. They're up on the fence because they're afraid of that mean old cat of Winnie's. On the day of the fair, everybody came to see who would take first prize. And they're looking at egg layers and puppies. That's the judge right there. He's judging everything. And Mr. Abernathy's cornstalks, Mrs. Yamasaki O'Sheridan's Plymouth Rock hens, and Mr. Peasley's Afghan pups all took first prizes. Look at that. With her share of the money, Winnie picked out the best new wagon in Quincy County, and on her way home, she couldn't help but notice Mrs. Alluvial's drooping dahlias, Mr. Yorkington Smith's second-rate Rhode Island reds. So there's the dahlias, and there's those Rhode Island reds. Those are chickens. And Mr. Marcantony's lackluster Lapa Apsos. There's the Lhasa Apsos who don't have any, who have lackluster. And Winnie said, I would have to find more worms. And so she did, because there was a lot more stuff to do. Okay, Wyatt, that's the end of that story, and we'll see you later. Love you guys. Bye.